Good afternoon. I'm Joel Franklin. Welcome to JLG's webinar series, Lies, Spies, and All That Jazz, with Deborah Ford and Roger Sutton. Today, they'll talk about the books that won the Boston Globe Horn Book Awards. But before we find out more, I have a few housekeeping items. Please turn off pop-up blockers in your browser, as these may cause problems when viewing the webinar. If you're experiencing technical problems, please use the Help button on the audience console, and the webinar tech team will get to you as soon as possible. If your screen becomes locked, try using F5 to refresh the webinar console, and if you're on a Mac, use Command R. Need credit? A certificate for continuing education credit is available in the certification folder. It will also be available in the archived presentation. If you have any questions or comments, you can send those in at any time via the red Q&A box. And please join the conversation on Twitter. You can tweet us at JR Library Guild and use the hashtag JLGWebinars. The Boston Globe Horn Book Awards is celebrating its 50th year. Roger, what can you tell us about its history?
Hi, Joel. Well, the awards were founded in 1967 in a partnership between the Horn Book and the Boston Globe newspaper. In the beginning, they gave awards in two categories, fiction and picture books. That was soon expanded to the current three, fiction, picture books, and nonfiction. In each one, for each category, the judges have only one criteria, that is to seek and reward excellence in children's literature.
And so, who picks these titles?
I appoint three judges, usually a librarian, a critic, an educator, sort of some combination of those things. Mm-hmm. And then publishers will submit books as well as the judges looking in their own libraries at the eligible titles. And they among themselves decide. There's no formal procedure. They meet for a weekend. They go throughout the year via email and phone, and then they meet for a weekend and make their final selections. And
so it's announced about after, like this year was after Memorial Day, that kind of when it is?
They usually meet Memorial Day weekend, and then we make the announcement the week after.
Okay. And so that explains why there's a combination of 2015 and 2016 titles.
Yes. The award is based on the old publishing calendar of fall and spring being 1 year together. So that's why it straddles the year in that way. So it's interesting because in some ways it anticipates books that are going to win awards, and it also sort of reconfirms books that haven't, or perhaps gives a nod to books that should have won awards, major national awards, but did not.
Cool. Thanks, Roger. Let's talk about those books then. So we're going to do it and kind of like reveal the envelope order and start with the honors. Let's start with the nonfiction. So one of the nonfiction honor books this year was Symphony for the City of the Dead. It's the story of Dmitri Shostakovich and the Siege of Leningrad, which for me personally was just a shocking eye-opener. I can't believe the things that we don't know about history that are kept secret for obvious reasons. But what I really want to share with this book is actually right out of the prologue. This is a tale of microfilm canisters and secret police, of communists and capitalists, of battles lost and wars won. It is the tale of Dmitri Shostakovich and of his beloved city, Leningrad. But at its heart, it is a story about the power of music and its meanings, a story of secret messages and doublespeak, and of how music itself is a code, how music coaxes people to endure unthinkable tragedy, how it allows us to whisper between the bars when we cannot speak aloud, how it can still comfort the suffering, saying, whatever has befallen you, you are not alone. And I think that just sums up this whole story, full of primary source documentation, so much back matter in the back, and so I personally can see why it has gotten the accolades that it has gotten.
What I love is that it shows us that really anything is possible in young adult publishing. Do you know what I mean? This isn't some big crowd pleaser about a school of secret vampire children with special powers. It's a book with a smaller audience, But, Candlewick found this worthy of publishing. M.T. Anderson got to devote his life to this book for years, and we have this wonderful book at the other end. I think that's great.
I do too. Thank you, Candlewick and Anderson. And our next Nonfiction Honor was Voice of Freedom, the story of Fannie Lou Hamer, which is actually a picture book for older readers.
Yeah, and in this, we'll talk about the colloquium that goes along with the Boston Globe Horn Book Awards a bit later. But the theme of the colloquium is out of the box. And the reason we came up with the theme, this book is one example, where the judges found books they loved and were not always sure of what category to put something in. Is this poetry? Is this picture book? Is this nonfiction? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a great book. And they landed it in nonfiction. But you really could use it in so many different contexts.
Absolutely. And of course it won lots and lots. It's 2015 title, so it won lots and lots of other awards, and deservedly
I've got 4 stickers on the copy I'm looking at. Boston Globe Horn Book, Coretta Scott King, Seibert, and a Caldecott Honor Book. Yep.
And just today I was looking at the live binder to make sure I had all these titles in there, and I bumped into another little video of Holmes, the illustrator, talking about her inspiration and what she was trying to achieve in the art. So you'll find it in the live binder. So let's jump right ahead then to the winner.
Most Dangerous by Steve Schenken. I am so grateful to this book because I was in high school when all this was going on, and I could never follow it. And I had friends who were political junkies who would talk about all this stuff with great excitement, and I had to fake my way through it. I have to fake my way no longer. I think what is so brilliant about this book is the way that Steve Schenken combines the stories of you learn what's happening in Vietnam, you learn what's happening in Ellsberg, you learn what's happening in the White House in this way that creates suspense because you get a little bit of the story at each time going on in those 3 different places. And at the same time, the events going on in the 3 different areas of interest are always informing each other. I felt so smart when I finished this book.
I absolutely agree. You can't see me, but I'm nodding my head the whole time. I was a little younger than that. I was not in high school, but I was certainly not paying attention to what was going on in the news. And so for me, it was almost like reading a movie. And then I left this just kind of laying around the house just in case the other Roger wanted to look at it, and he read it in one gulp. And when he finished, he said, "Does this guy have any more books?" And I laughed out loud. So it's a book for all ages. And yeah. Good job, Steve. Okay, moving on to fiction.
We're moving fast here today.
We are. Places to go and books to talk about.
Exactly. Goodbye, Stranger by Rebecca. Oh, Hired Girl. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. Or you skipped ahead.
Nope, we're on the Hired Girl.
Okay, Hired Girl, Laura Amy Schlitz, also winner of the Scott Odell Award for Historical Fiction, which is an award I chaired this year. This is your classic word I can't pronounce book, Bildungsroman, of a young girl growing up, escaping from the farm, moving to the big city, encountering peoples and customs that she hadn't even been aware existed, and learning to grow up in that world. It's very luxurious in the way that this story develops, and you find yourself being driven a little crazy by the heroine as you wait for her to pick up on things, that are obvious to you as the reader, but she has to learn. And I love the way that Schlitz is so patient with her heroine. And for me, that patience, was infectious. I felt it too. I had such empathy with Joan, this poor girl, as she's a poor Catholic girl from the farm, trying to understand the Jews she has landed amongst. And eventually making her way and
Right,
getting
and
not everything she wanted, but enough.
Yeah, and of course, she's even struggling with her own religion. And so I've said this before as I've talked about this book, but, sometimes I wondered why she wasn't the fired girl. But bless those people's hearts who took her in, because they were quite patient in helping her learn the ropes of social class and where the lines are and religious division and customs and culture and all those things that she just didn't have any clue about.
I don't want to spoil the story, but you know how there was one thing she wanted in particular?
Yes.
Okay, which she doesn't get.
Right.
Did you think she was going to get it?
That's a good question. I don't know that I've thought about that. I'm going to say probably I didn't, because it's a YA book, and that's probably a rule.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get what you really want.
Cue the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, something like that. I do love how she took, the whole thing is written in a diary, which gives the reader, different options for when do you stop, because that's one of the hardest things in the world is when do you stop when you're reading a book like this?
Right.
You can't just stop at the end of a chapter. But then I also like how she used the artwork to bring her story along.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that kids who read this book will also lean into the art a little bit.
I see this as a book for Anne of Green Gables fans who have grown up a little bit.
Yeah. Everybody hear that. Share this book with your Anne of Green Gables children to mature a little bit. And another honor book we had by another Newbery winner is Goodbye Stranger. So Roger,
Rebecca Stead, go ahead.
Yep, go ahead and tell. What did you think about this book?
Well, Rebecca Stead won the Boston Globe Horn Book Award for When You Reach Me a few years ago. It's a pleasure to welcome her back. I had an interesting dinner with her and Richard Peck in New York a couple of years ago, where they were both working on new books. He was working on The Best Man, and she was working on this. And they were discussing how to incorporate current teen technology into stories. Because we're all sort of outsiders to that. I mean, we understand text messaging maybe, but we use it in a very different way than kids do. There's like a whole new world of technology out there, which is foreign to all of us. Rebecca the least, because she was the youngest of the three of us. But it was fascinating listening to the two of them discuss how to negotiate the modern world of technology in books for young readers when you yourself are a couple of generations away from that technology.
That's a good point.
It's a story about, it's about a lot of things, but it's about the trouble you can get yourself into with the ease of technology.
Right. With
I never know how much you want to give away on these things.
Yeah. Well, it's be careful what someone else. Be careful what wishes you grant.
Yeah.
Because they could turn around to make you sorry you did that.
Right.
And, it's one of those things that librarians are all the time trying to teach kids about safety online and making mistakes and relationships. And
did you ever read Cat's Eye by Margaret Atwood, the adult book?
Oh, Roger, I wish I had time to read big people books.
It was a long time ago, but it was about these three women and their friendship. And this book reminded me of that in a way, that the way it looked at female sort of junior high friendship was so alien to me. But it's like there's this whole world of girls out there. Do you know what I mean? This whole sort of secret society of women, young women, and sort of their rituals and their friendships and their betrayals. And did it seem like a familiar
and older
world
women giving advice and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is very different, I think, with girls and relationships than maybe other books that have girls and their pals and the relationships. And And then, of course, this one broaches that whole thing of a guy with a girl that's just a friend.
Right.
So, yeah, it tackles a lot of things and obviously did it well.
Did it make you remember your own middle school days? Was it like that for you?
No, not really. Well, maybe in the part with the now I'm going to do what we said. The guy, his name slips my head. What was that boy's name? Sherm. Because my best friend in middle school was a guy, and I didn't think a thing about it,
Mm-hmm.
But we were tight. We were in the band. We were always together. So I guess it kind of bent back that way for me. Then our winner in this category, The Lie Tree, which this book probably breaks a record. Right, Joel?
4.
It's been in the last 3 webcasts.
Yes,
really?
That's a record.
It's a record. It's made all 3 of the last 3. I forget what was the first one. I don't know. But then it won the Boston Globe. It won this prize, and I said, "Oh, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to wait." And then, so we kind of held them over. But Kaylee, our reader in marketing, she was hilarious when she had decided who the bad guy was. And then she came to me the next morning and she went, "Well, there you go."
Oh, I didn't spot it at all.
No.
Did you? I
No.
didn't see that come.
No. But she's very good at, obviously, I think it has 6 stars.
I think so.
And, yeah, I was completely not ready for it. But I don't think ahead too much when I'm reading. I kind of just wait and see what happens.
If there's any librarian out there listening who needs a book for summer reading for yourself,
yes,
this is a great contender. This is
yes.
such a wonderful mystery story. It's the kind of fantasy novel I like best, where you're not ever quite sure if it is a fantasy novel or not.
Oh, that's very good, Roger. That's exactly right.
Don't you think?
I do think, because somewhere along the line when we realize what makes the tree grow, I'm thinking, wait, this is fantasy? No. Because it reads like historical fiction. And you just go right along. You just believe in the tree.
Frances and we did a Talks with Roger interview with her a couple of months ago, and Frances and I talked about this, and I said, "Do you think of this as fantasy?" And she says, "Well, not the sort of fantasy that I've written before, like with Cuckoo Song and the Lost Conspiracy. That, to me, it really might not be fantasy, that some of what we think of as the fantastical elements involving the lie tree could in fact be science we just don't understand yet."
Whoa.
I think that's so cool.
That is so cool. So I'll put that talk in the live binder, and then I'll add it to the post-presentation post. So you guys are going to want to go back and read that. So let's talk about the picture books.
Okay.
Here comes an honor. I want to say this about this book. One day. This is one of those books when you just smack yourself in the head and you think, why didn't I do this? Did you think that?
Why didn't you write this, you mean?
Why didn't I write this book?
Well, we're glad somebody did.
Absolutely. I had children when I was a teacher, and that's kind of what they'd write. One day I fell down, the end.
Right.
And I say, what happened in the middle? And so for those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's a book full of short stories, kind of like your kids would write.
Very short.
Very,
yes,
very
I'll
short.
Here, I'm going to read one short story in its entirety.
Okay, cool.
One day I went to school. I came home. The end. But, and this is all on one double spread, and what you see in sort of in between the words, almost literally, are all the things that happened in that day. And I want to take this to my grandchildren, because this is a book that you really want to sit with a kid, and it's such a perfect book for reading with a child.
Right. And I was telling somebody after I read it, it's kind of like Wordless Plus.
Yes.
Because you have some bones, but you still have to make up the story. So you're absolutely right. It's great for story time. It's great for sharing out loud, sharing with one-to-one with a child. So you can put this on your little shopping list, those of you that are parents and aunties and grandparents.
It's perfect for that.
Yep. Another book that's really a great book about families is our Thunderboy Jr. picture book, honor book by Sherman Alexie and illustrated by Eugene Morales. I'm not a little boy, but I could have been named Ralph Jr. if I was a boy. And I know right now that I would not want to be named Ralph Jr. And so I get it that this little boy does not want to be Thunderboy Jr. because his dad is Thunderboy Sr. He wants his own name. He wants to be known for what he has done.
Deb, let's talk about the real appeal of this book.
Okay.
In that it has the one word that every first grader loves.
Oh. It has fart.
Fart.
Yeah.
The boy worries that his nickname, Little Thunder, he says, that nickname makes me sound like a burp or a fart.
Yeah.
So I'd be all over this for Story Hour.
Oh, it's perfect for that. And then you got that place where you turn the page and he's going to whisper, and it's, I hate my name.
My name.
Yep. And, of course, your children they'll, of course, read it with you, too. So, great story. And last but not least, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's Sherman Alexie. It's really irreverent.
Yes.
It's very funny. If you're expecting a sort of solemn tale about, how a child gets his name, this is not that story.
No.
Jazz Day.
I love this book so much.
And again, for our out-of-the-box theme, this was another example where the judges said, where do we put this? It's a picture book. It's poetry. It's kind of nonfiction. But we're going to give it the gold medal in the picture book category.
Cool. And it's, of course, where we got from our title of the webcast, All That Jazz, which, of course, puts that song in my head. But I love the whole premise of this book. I love the whole that they took a day in the production of Esquire magazine in 1958 where they decided, let's do a picture. We don't know if anybody will come, and I don't have a camera, but we could borrow one, and we'll just see what happens. And then we have this glorious picture, and we have this great story in verse. It's brilliantly illustrated by a debut. I just love it.
Is this the debut? Oh, sure enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the illustrator's the debut.
And one thing that's great about this book is that you're reading along and suspense is mounting. Will people show up for this photograph? Who will show up for this photograph? And you're getting to know the people through the poems and through the terrific illustrations who are going to be in the picture, the people who have come down the street to be in the picture. But after a while, you start to think, when am I going to see the picture? When am I going to see the picture? So about, I would say, 3/4 of the way through the book, you come to a page and there's a poem on the left-hand side, and then on the right, you just see this flap it's black, and it says click. And you open it up, and there is the original photograph.
Yeah.
And you feel like you've met these people now. That you've been introduced to the people in the poems, and you're finally get a look at them. It really is a tour de force in that way.
It is. It's brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. So that's our winning menu. remember that in addition to telling you about these great books, we've got all these great resources you can use, and you can find them in Junior Library Guild's live binders, our Book Talks to Go live binders, and you can see on your screen where do you find those things. You just can go to bit.ly/JLG live binders, and you'll see all the live binders. We do a new one for every span, and you'll see some others that will help you with your library work, so I hope you'll use those. Roger, as we wrap up, let's talk about the award ceremony and reception, and the next day, the Hornbook at Simmons.
The award ceremony is Friday evening, September 30th. It is an invitation-only event. It's pretty glamorous as far as these things go. We have a party at Simmons College. People give little speeches, then we all have drinks, and there's autographing. It's really quite nice. It's followed the next day by the Hornbook at Simmons Colloquium, which, as I've said, the theme this year is out of the box, and our winners, most of our winners, will be with us to sort of explore that theme of categorization and classification and how we regard books, as books shift beyond genre, as it were. What do librarians and teachers do? That will be October 1st, and registration for that will open next month. You can go to the hornbook.hbook.com to be updated on that. And everyone who registers for the colloquium gets a free ticket to the Friday Night Bash.
Which is, I'll just say from personal experience, it's so amazing. If you live in the Northeast and you can easily get to Boston, you are shooting yourself in the foot if you don't go. I'll just have to tell you, it was just almost surreal. It's so private, and you are just up close and personal with these books that you love and the winners, being with the authors and illustrators and hearing the backstory when you go meet with them on the next day and you listen to the panel discussions. It just will fill your heart up. And the Hornbook does a really, really great job at Simmons, and Simmons College, of course, is very supportive. And so that's my personal plug. Roger, now what else are you guys working on? Did you tell me something about Richard Peck?
Yes, we have a Talks with Roger video edition coming out on July 20th with Richard Peck talking about his new book, The Best Man. I went to New York to record that last month, and it was great to have time to catch up with him. We've been friends for 30 years, so it was nice to be able to get some of that on celluloid video, whatever we call it, pixels.
Cool. And we have two Richard Peck selections, including Best Man, coming out in our next span.
What's the other one?
Oh, maybe it's a secret.
Didn't mean
I forget.
I didn't know there was another one. Okay. Oh, that's
I
a good
think there
title.
is. So, Joel, what's next?
Well, next time on the JLG webcast, we have Leslie Ramel joining Deb in a webcast called A Hat, a Pig, and Panda Pants. It's a sneak peek into the JLG fall selections for elementary-aged readers.
And remember that after the webcast today, look for the post-presentation blog post. You'll find a link to all the books that we talked about today. Go on to their detail pages and all the Hornbook resources, and also there's a link to the specific resources in the live binder. So be sure to share with other librarians and teachers and anybody else you think that could use that, grandmas and all included.
Well, thanks again, Roger and Deb, for spending some time with us. Celebrating books makes our jobs easy. And also remember that Junior Library Guild members get a discount on the Hornbook subscriptions. So if you love books, you'll surely want to get your own copy. If you want to know more about JLG, its services, or new categories, you can contact your account rep or send an email to sales@juniorlibraryguild.com. Tomorrow, you'll receive an automatic email regarding today's webinar, and if you follow the link, you can watch the archived webinar and print your certificate of attendance after 10 minutes of viewing. Until next time, thanks again for joining us, and happy reading.
Thanks, everybody.